Panel with me, JB. Hope you're all doing really well today. Or tonight, actually, because it is tonight. I'm just trying to get this right before I do anything else. So, yeah. So we are here in another evening. Managed to turn this chair around. Here we go. It's much better. So I can now actually. So today's been a funny old day. Hope our evenings are doing really well. So I'm not in the studio office thing today because, basically because it's half term and I've got to kind of do the things that I can. Still had a really fantastic show this morning. Really good show. I'm JB. If you've never been here before, obviously we are a United fan channel, and to come and bring you the news, have a good chat. One of the things I do like to do here is I like to give you guys your own opinion. I'm not going to be dictatorship here. I'm not going to kind of be the sort of person who is, I want you to have your own opinions. Obviously we need to respect each other's views. That's the one thing, is respect. Bring whatever you like to the chat, and that is much appreciated. So hopefully I can, if there's anyone in the chat, I don't know if I can see the chat being in this format. I don't know actually. If anyone is in the chat, then obviously feel free to come and say hi. So what are we talking about tonight? So everyone else has already come on and had their say about this tonight. So the topic really of discussion is, what do we do next? That's one of the things that we've spoken about on here the last couple of nights, couple of times. The chat obviously has been fantastic on this, and this is to do with striker. So as of today, there are a couple of reports, a couple of X's that I've seen a lot of credible people, credible outlets. Fabrizio is kind of alluding to this, and Fabrizio is basically saying that we are intensifying our search for the striker. So irrespective of how you feel or how I feel about whether we need a centre midfielder first or whether we need a goalkeeper, number one target which we're actively pursuing right now is a striker. Now, as of today, this evening, and I've got to give credit and shout out to the United stand here. They do get a lot of good stuff. Looked at their X and that kind of stuff, and a tweet that got put out there by Mark. And so according to them, according to sources, and kind of links up a little bit with Fabrizio, is basically that United have chosen Ollie Watkins, and we can kind of go through that and discuss some of that stuff as well, and kind of what we think about those options. So Ollie Watkins, we've spoken about him, did a show a couple of days ago now, in regards to that. And I think Ollie Watkins, when you break it all down, we looked at Muani, Shesko, we looked at a couple of others as well. The one thing for me that stood out about Watkins was basically the goals and the assists. When you're looking back to what Amorin wants, and Amorin wants to do with his team, then you almost got to, Ollie Watkins for me almost fits into that, whether I agree with that or not. A lot of channels have been covering, or a lot of articles have been covering today, that Shesko's price has now come down, that RB Leipzig would be prepared to bring that price down. Have a look. What's going on? So RB Leipzig would be pleased to bring that price down. I bet they would, to around 60.8 mil, 60 million, whatever the price is there. Now, again, it's been put out there that even that is still too pricey, still very pricey for what United want to do. Shesko is one of those signings whereby I think it's definitely something that I wouldn't say no to it, but we have to be logical and kind of think about what Amorin wants to do and the sorts of players that he's looking to get. So United this season seem to be looking at Premier League proven strikers. Now you can argue that you could put Mateta in that as well, but Ollie Watkins for me seems to me now there is some traction behind this. This has been alluded Fabrizio, as I've already put a sort of post on the YouTube channel that Fabrizio now he's basically putting it out there, and I think Fabrizio knows. I think he knows something that he's putting in his back pocket because he needs it. That talks have intensified on the striker situation. I do think we're looking at Šeško. I also do think that Ollie Watkins is probably the new number one target that we are pursuing. I think there's a lot of things around that to make that happen. Now, bearing in mind, we took 6-7 weeks to get Mbeumo done. Now, we got that deal done in 7 weeks. We don't have that. 6 weeks time, and the Premier League starts and the window shuts. So the major stumbling block for me here, when you're looking at who we're going to go for next, is how easy are the selling club to deal with. Now, Aston Villa, they're a difficult club to deal with, and are we going to have to do something to make that deal a bit more appealing to Villa? They're going to want big money for him. Now, I think starting price for Ollie Watkins is going to be around 60 mil. You can argue that Šeško, again, that sort of deal is going to be in and around that, probably more. But if you can get Ollie Watkins down for up to about 45 million, his current salary I think is about 120, 130. So if you can get Ollie Watkins, get that deal down to 45 mil, you can get a contract between 150 to 170 million. If you want 200k, then I think we just go, nah, I'm fine on that one. I mean, I'd love to know what you think in the chat. I don't know if I can actually see the chat tonight. It'll be interesting. So if anyone has put anything in the chat, I apologise because I don't think I can actually see the chat. Give me a little thumbs up would be amazing. So Ollie Watkins, I think logically, when you look at what it is we're trying to do with our players, what it is Ten Hag likes, Ollie Watkins for me is quite a versatile striker. He can run, plays on the last man. He plays in the last man. He spins it around, likes to run down the channels. And I do think that logically, I think Ollie Watkins is a good choice. 29 years old, obviously going to be 30. That's not an issue for me. The only issue for me would be whether or not, what deal would we offer him? So if it's a 5-year deal, I think he'd be good for 2 or 3 seasons. I think we'd easily get if he plays on the last man, and even if he came in. So this is for me, I think, why Watkins makes a lot of sense at a good price point. Thumbs up. Thank you for the thumbs up. If there is chat in there, I can't see it, so I apologise straight away. I'll see if I can see if anyone's put chat in. I can't actually see anything if there is a chat in there, so I apologise. If there are chats, I can't read them. I can't see anything at the moment, so I can't actually see anything right now. Let's have a look. Cool, I can see the live chat now, so that is all good. So feel free to get your comments in on this. So the plus, so I guess this breaks down for me to the pluses and the minuses of this deal. So the pluses for me are you get a Premier League proven striker for goal contributions in terms of goals and assists. He brings a lot, and he's only behind Salah for that. So that's not bad. He's been consistently good for what we want to do and how we want a striker to play. Definitely, that's a plus point for me. Premier League proven. He doesn't need to adjust. There's nothing he needs to adjust to. He's proven. I think he's versatile enough whereby he can come straight into this team and add something straight away. Šeško is a risk. I like him, but I think he is a risk. We don't have. My stance has sort of changed slightly in this, but we can't. I don't think we've got time. I don't think we've got time to take a risk right now on a Šeško. Not at that price. I don't know what I did there. Yeah, so I think it'd be very, very a very difficult deal. Very difficult deal to do. As I said, I don't think I can see the chat either. It'd be a very, very difficult deal to do for Šeško. So Watkins, I think we need to get, if that's our number one target, then we need to start to do that. So I think if we can get the price down to around about 45 million, get a decent contract in there. So if it's a 3+1, then, or I'm all kind of, if it's like 150 to 180 a week, 3-year +1 deal, then that's fine. The problem is if we give a 5-year deal out, then if he gets injured, and that's the problem when you've got a player of this age, is he needs to give you those best years. You're paying for goals, and you're paying for that experience. So you're basically paying the best part of that out. And he's versatile enough. He can play across the front three. He brings in. But when you're looking at the goals, potentially that a Watkins and assists, that Watkins, and Bermo and Cunha, you're talking the best part of 40+ goals there on its own. And even if you take 10%, 15% of that off, you're still bringing into a team that only scored 41 goals last year. You're bringing in Premier League proven players with about 40 odd goals between them, more than that, with another 30 odd goals there. So I can see the appeal. I can see the logic behind it. I can see what United would be doing with that signing. By all accounts, and the credibility now behind this, I think that we've possibly cooled on Šeško. Contrary to that, I have seen other bits and bobs out there that are saying that Šeško is now the one. Šeško is the one that we're going to be chasing. So I think you can flip a coin. I think the more times you flip a coin, if it was like out of like 100, I'd probably say I'm more 70-30 towards I think Watkins is the one, so I'd probably 70-30 leading towards him, Šeško at 30. But then if our strategy now, and I think Romano knows the strategy, is that I think Premier League proven is probably where we're going to look. So even if you look at a Mateta, who would be around 40 million-ish, I think, Premier League proven players, I think this is where we're going to try to go and to try and get us up that league. So I think those of you, including myself, who would take Šeško, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think that we are now leaning towards a more Premier League proven striker and Premier League proven players. So I think that's what we're trying to fill in that gap. I think we're trying to fill in those goals and those missing parts. So Ollie Watkins, I think, is the number one choice. Now, it's not been ruled out that Garnacho could possibly go the other way. So I don't think we could rule out a possible loan. Maybe a try before you buy. So effectively, like a Rashford could do this season, is loan, say, Villa, could loan him out to Villa, and then Garnacho goes to Villa, plays really well, gets into the World Cup squad, and then who's to say that then his value doesn't increase back up to 55 to 60? Because if nobody's willing to do the Garnacho deal for anything more than that, he is worth 55 to 60. So then logically, do you then loan him out, and then you don't need to sell him, because then you're going to loan a player back in return as well? So I don't think a swap deal works. I don't know how you could do a swap. the financials on it are, it wouldn't go against FFP, so it'd be a swap deal, but the value would be nil, so it wouldn't get classed as that. So I think that logically, if we need to sell to buy, then Garnacho, I think, to Villa. I think clubs that are circling the Garnachos now are Chelsea's. I think Chelsea are trying to do a little sneaky deal with him, even though they're going after Hatto and Simmons today. Sorry, Simons, or whatever his name is. So they're still going after him as well. So Simon, Simmons, Garnacho as well. So I wonder if, again, if anyone's messaged in the chat, apologies, I can't see the chat. Yeah, so I think that Chelsea are going to look to do that deal. Jackson, I think, is completely off of the table. We're not going to do that deal. So I do think we have, and Fabrizio, I think, will come out and say in the next couple of days. I think Fabrizio will come out and give more context behind his podcast today. He's basically said that we've been in meetings, and he sort of knows the kind of strategy now around a striker. And I think we're going to go Premier League proven. It's a shame. I think Šeško is the best of the rest, and I do think we're taking a chance, because if Šeško does amazingly well next season, then maybe 60 million will prove to be cheap. But I think that's a really can we afford the question here is, can we afford not to go for a Premier League proven striker? Watkins makes sense. It really does make sense when you're looking at the type of striker he is, Amorin, what he likes on that front three. Now Watkins, Mbeumo, and Cunha, I think those three up front, we don't really have an excuse. Then if we save money there, if we can get 45 mil, and then it means we can go for a midfielder and a keeper. So I do think we've got 5 weeks to do 3 deals. I just don't want to get into now the downsides, I guess, talking about the downsides of the Watkins deal. Age, but only in relation to length of deal and price. I think those two have to be considered. The length of deal and the price definitely needs to be considered, because I think if we overpay, if they want 60 and we spend 5 weeks negotiating and we pay 60, that's far too much. And then on top of that, if you want an expensive wage, so we need to figure that out now. We need to figure out the wage now. We need to figure out the price before we deal with Villa. If they will come down, we'll deal around about that 45 million mark, and then we can then do that deal. Another plus point for me as well, and again, this is only pluses really from me as such, is that as an experienced Premier League striker, this is what we need, right? So not only do we need to bring in a striker who can guarantee a certain amount of goals and assists, we also need to bring in a striker who can then, while they're here, teach things. So for OB, I think Watkins will be a godsend. I think it will absolutely work, because Watkins has plied his trade in the lower leagues, plied his trade at lesser clubs. I don't want to disrespect other clubs, but he's plied his trade there, so he knows what it takes. And even Rasmus, I think Watkins means that Rasmus goes, but even if he doesn't, he can teach the likes of Rasmus Højlund, he can teach the likes of OB on how to be a Premier League striker. So for me, if we get this at the right deal, Watkins totally makes sense. The more I think about it, the more the pluses that it brings in, I think it makes total logical sense why we would make him our number one target at the right price, because of all the attributes he can actually bring, as long as he stays fit. And even then, as he gets older, and gives a chance for OB to come through, OB can then learn off of a proven Premier League striker. Despite what I think Watkins, let's not forget that Arsenal was seriously looking at him. In the January window just gone. They were really looking at him. They were priced out, I just think. But they were looking at spending some serious cash on him. And I think that's one of the top teams. If they take a punt on him, I mean, we are historically a top team. So I think if we take a punt on him at a good price, I think the benefits are two. The benefits for me outweigh the risks. The risks for me are age. Will he maintain that high level for at least another 3 seasons to 4 seasons? And then he can almost be a backup striker. So he almost then teaches OB, teaches Hoyland, teaches whoever else, and then stays at the club and then becomes the backup striker. I can see that, but what I don't want to happen. Hesty13 says, hello. Do you think Watkins could still get in the England squad? 100%. 100%. I actually prefer him to Kane. Sounds mad, but I actually prefer Hesty. I actually prefer him to Kane. I think because Kane must have dropped back sometimes and be in the number 6 position, or wants to be in the number 8 position. Watkins wants to play on that last man. He wants to run down the channel. So when you've got the likes of like Palmer in the team and Bellingham's in the team, what you want is Watkins to stretch that back for you. Want him to run in behind. You want him to run down the channels, bring those defenders away, open up those gaps, and that's what he'll do. That's what he'll do for England if he was to get his chance. Kane is an amazing talent. He's an amazing striker, but he's not what England need, I don't think, anyway. And what we need is an Ollie Watkins. I think Watkins can get into that England squad. I think if he comes to United and if he comes in and he will be the guy. If he does what he does and his attributes and he plays to those, running down those channels, he works extremely hard, stretches that back four, then I genuinely believe that we could get a Van Persie effect here. And I don't mean we're going to win the league. I mean that we're gonna get a quality player sort of in that prime. He's basically in halfway through his prime. Striker's prime, in my opinion, is probably can start about 26, 27, but it's normally 20, 27 all the way to about 32, 33. And then that's then when they start to peter off. Hesty13 says, then it would be great. He'll be motivated while Delac would lack minutes in a Chelsea couldn't impress Tuchel. Exactly. That is exactly my point. I think Ollie Watkins at United, I think the more that I think about it now, done a couple of shows and Shesko for me, I 100%. I wouldn't be disappointed if we got him, but logically, what it is we're trying to do pre-season, let's just be clear, a striker now is not going to go in the pre-season tour, probably not. Watkins will still get a pre-season-ish, but we won't need to, we still need to learn the system, but we've still got a Premier League proven striker. And the motivation, as you said there, is you've got a World Cup year, and then 2 years after, you've got a Euro. So, Watkins will be looking towards the next 3 years. There will be a World Cup, he'll be 30, and a Euro, so he'll be 32. And Kane is not, in my opinion, Kane is now going to be, kind of coming towards that end. So Watkins could protect, and he's more proven. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to snap up. So I think it makes complete sense. I think it makes utter sense to make Watkins number one. And the more that I think about it, for what we're trying to do, as long as we keep that price down, we can get a good price. Obviously, Villa are going to want top whack, and that's up to them. We all know that they want to get rid of him. We all know he wants to go, but there needs to be a fair deal. If Garnacho goes the other way, so even if it's a loan, I don't. It sounds crazy, but maybe don't rule out a loan. Don't rule out a loan for Watkins, maybe with an option to buy or an obligation to buy. So I think more of an option to buy, and then a Garnacho can go the other way, potentially on a loan as well with an option to buy. But just purely given the time frame, given the deals we need to do, I expect us to move, and I expect us to have more concrete. That word again. I expect us to have more concrete, a bit more of an understanding of the striker target towards tomorrow, Friday, because we need to move quickly. So I think striker, whatever we feel about the striker move. Centre midfield, we went 100% do need a centre midfielder. So Guerra, again, I think that was mentioned today, just to come off the back of that the show that I did today. Guerra was mentioned 25 million because you won't sign another contract potentially there, so maybe that could be a quick deal to do. Could that be agent talk to try to get a better contract for him? I don't know. Keeper wise, Lemens, I think there's too much noise around Lemens not to think logically again that that's the keeper that we're going to go for. So, really for the price of Shesko as a package, you can almost get Lemens and Watkins, Premier League proven striker who not only scores you goals but gets you assists. And adding that into that squad, you've then got you've then got a front of OBS backup, which is good, I think. Watkins, you might need another striker. Xerxes could possibly fill in there. You've got Cunha that can play the 10, and Burma that can play the 10 or potentially play up front as well. Xerxes can fit in there. Mason Mount, Fernandez, I don't think will play in 10. You've still got Ahmad. Then our front line, our front 4 or 5 is, for me, then is a top eight forward line, and then you then need to supplement that with, I think, another midfielder. What we do there, I don't know. I think we need an engine in there. But again, that's only one engine. We need a couple of engines. So, Ugarte supplemented possibly with another. And then keeper. We need to get that keeper in. So I do think, and again, Romano, I think he knows something, and this is going to come out. Ornstein will come out as well, but Fabrizio will come out as well and say, but I think we are looking for a goalkeeper. We are looking for a midfielder and a striker. Irrespective of how we all feel, I think striking target is number one. Richard Hawkins says we need to give VTech a chance. I first went to watch him in '66 at Main Road. First ever guy I saw was Dennis Law. Wow, wow, mate. That is. Thank you for the comment in there. First went to watch a match in '66 at Main Road. First ever guy was Law. I mean, I get comments right about how fortunate I am to. I mean, I'm 42, right? So I get comments saying basically how fortunate I am to, be just be by the Fergie era before the Premier League started, and I got to watch that era, right? Now, I feel the same way about you, Richard. I feel the same way about. That's how I feel about you getting to watch that. That's how I feel about you, legend, complete legend. That's how I feel about talking to you or getting the privilege to read that. And talk about, imagine seeing that Law in '66. That's amazing. I think we need to learn things like that as well. Hesty says if Garnacho on loan to Villa is UEFA Gen considered it a swap deal, and this is the thing, you see. This is what we need to sort of figure that out, because things are not that obvious. So again, this is something that will come out in the next couple of days. Mark Harris, a legend of the chat. Watkins short term, Sesko future and value will go up. Amorin is sniffing fixed glue. Mark in the chat always with some of the amazing comments in there. But Richard Hawkins, mate, I mean, hands down to you, buddy. I mean, I could talk to you. I'd love to talk to you about that. If you come on more shows, it's going to be a shortest one tonight, but if you come on shows, I'm going to do some live shows. I'd love to get you back in the chat, talk about your games and experiences, because I'd love to know more about that. So thank you. Mark Harris, Watkins is short term, 100% short term, but it depends on what the strategy is. And we're talking about United having a strategy. Okay, we don't have one, do we? I think we've completely shifted and gone, what the hell are we going to do? Let's go for Premier League proven, because otherwise we're screwed. Richard says, I was 10. What time is it now? I was 10 years old when my father took me from Belfast to Wembley in '68 to watch the European. Seriously, that is ridiculous. My dad's from Belfast, actually. So I was 10 years old when my father took me from Belfast to Wembley to watch the European Cup final. Jesus. That is Richard, I've got to get you back in the chat again, because we've got to talk about this, because this is ridiculous. 10 years old, and you watched that must have been amazing. I mean, that for me is like the epitome. And then the fact that you've then got to see that, and got to see, you know, and got to see Fergie as well, and obviously now you get to see this nonsense of a team. So your opinion, I'd love to get more of your opinions on this, because you know you've seen it all. That's amazing. Wow, that's I mean, I love getting you people in the chat and telling me those kind of stories, and that kind of stuff, and even Mark as well with his Airfix glue. Amorin, I generally don't know. I don't think we've got a strategy. I think that we've missed out on all these targets. What the hell are we going to do? And I think that we are now trying to do a logical perspective. A logical thing is, let's just go for Premier. We're basically doing what we've always done, right? Except we're doing it now Premier League proven. And what's so funny, what makes me laugh about this, is that when I started to do this, one of the things I've always said is we need to look back at the past. And I know lots of other people say that, well, we don't need to look back at the past. We now need to look at the now. And my reasoning for always looking back at the past, reason why Fergie looked back at the Busby Babes, Fergie looked back to Sir Matt Busby, the reason why I think we need to look back there is because you have to look at, there's a certain way to do things, right? Logically, you need players from the league you play in, because they understand it, and then you supplement that with youth, you supplement that with players that you can take a gamble on, because you know you've got the team around them. And this is through what we've done historically, pretty much throughout our time, is we've had a core of players, and you supplement them with the youth, and then you bring in the odd player, the odd starlet in. That's what we've not been doing. But yet now Amorin seems to be of the mindset, well, actually, I want to play youth, so I want to bring in some youth players. I actually want a core of a team that play in the league, and supplement that with youth players. So we're almost going back to what Fergie did. We're almost going back to what Sir Matt did. We're almost going back in time, because it works. You look at Liverpool. Chelsea, to a certain degree, are completely different. Theirs is a scattergun approach. They are the anomaly, if you like, because yes, they do buy youth, but they buy in youth, and then they pretty much just go and buy as many players and hope that they can gel a squad together. Liverpool have done more of that this season, but they do bring players through. So they've kind of done that this year, because they've had to respond to everyone else. City, obviously, as we know, whatever they do, they bought the whole team, but they've now started to follow that plan and sort of bring in a bunch of players, and then they supplement that with their youth players, and obviously they bring in one or two stars, but they also bring in some kind of gambles as well. And then we seem to be reverting back from whatever it was that we tried to do for the last 12, 13 years, to now Amorin has come in, and it's like this light has switched on in their heads and gone, oh, why don't we just buy from this league? Try and buy well, and buy from this league. You know, and it just, and the problem with that is we've now got to catch up to actually build a core of a squad. Watkins is almost like that player that you bring in as the final piece, but he's coming in as a mentor. There's a lot of, for me, there's a lot of responsibility on these players. Watkins can't just come in and do his stuff. He's going to be expected to come in and obviously train the youth. He's going to be playing pretty much every game. So where's his support? Where's that going to be? So I think it's a complete mess. I think it's a complete absolute mess. The Glazers have, again, the Glazers and Ineos have shown, as much as they have bought two good players so far. Amorin, and this will make Mark Harris happy. They definitely, I think they brought in probably the right guy at the wrong time. I don't think he's a bad coach, but I do think that they've taken a big risk on him. He needs a certain type of player to play his system. That's how he works. That's how his system works. And they basically asked him to basically build a squad and gone, you can have two players, because ultimately this is what we've done so far. We have only bought in two players. So Ollie Watkins, I think the more that I think about it, makes sense. Are we building for the future right now? No, I don't think we are. I think we're building for the right now. I don't think we're buying players for the future. I think we're going to rely on the academy, possibly. I don't think we're going to take a chance this season on bringing players for the future. To go back to what Mark Harris says, I think it's a very valid point that Ollie Watkins is the present and Sheska would be the future. I don't think we're that club yet that we can go and invest in the future. We can semi-invest, but we're not investing in the future. We're investing in the here and now, because we need to get into the Champions League. And every year we're not in the Champions League. We are probably that pushes us 2 years back. Liverpool are going to get the money again. City will get the money again. Whoever else gets into the Champions League will get that money again, and then we're going to be an additional X amount of years behind. So we need to get into the Champions League. We need to get into the European spots next season, and the only way to do that is by buying proven players. Is it a chance? Is that taking a chance? Of course it is. And if we get Watkins, so this is one of the final things that I'm saying it, because I do need to go tonight. Is basically that I think that if we get Ollie Watkins and Amorin signs Watkins off, okay. So if he signs Watkins off, so what the chat's saying there? Sorry, I'm a little bit behind. Let's have a little look. Sorry, guys, the chat disappeared. Richard Hawkins says, I've been lucky to see Bobby, Nobby, George, Dennis, good friend, Morgan play. Richard Hawkins, you just seriously, every single word that comes out is just gold. My character says, you can blame the Glazers. They should have listened to Radnick 100%, but they sacked him. He would have changed. And agreed. That is the one thing I will we will agree on that 100%. Agree on that. Richard Hawkins says it falls on more than the Glazers. Again, I don't disagree with it. I think I think it is the Glazers. The Glazers are the absolute epitome of how this club is destroyed, but recruiting people to run the club, managers who spending extremely badly. Mark Harris, employed mediocre managers is the last two. It doesn't help. A world-class manager can adapt to formations, improve plays. I don't see Amorin doing that. Mark Harris, again, I think that you will have that opinion answered this season 100%. That will get answered. that is, you will get proven on that this year, and I think really, really quickly as well. Richard Hawkins says, Mark Harris, bad structure within the club is not the problem, not bad managers. Richard Hawkins again says, Alex or Samat never had a formation, they had a mentality. Win. Again, some really, really, really good points raised here. I think this comes down to opinions. I mean, where do I fall on it? If you and again, a question here would be, would Fergie adapt to today's systems? I don't know, because that's a question that we can't answer. But if you listen and you go back, which I've watched loads and loads of stuff of Fergie and listen to the players, and to go back there, on what Richard said, was that Fergie he never really did the tactic side of things. He just basically had a sort of rough formation in his mind, and then told the players to go on the pitch and express themselves. And their way was to win things. Now that was back in a day whereby obviously Ferguson had to adapt his teams. And what he did, I don't know, but his philosophy was win, and I think Richard is spot on with that. I think where the game has evolved on is that obviously there are formations and there are different ways, but ultimately, I think what it comes down to, and I think we've said this before on here, is mentality. And this is why I look back to the past. And if you watch some of the videos that I've done, particularly the transfer year ones that I do, and I'll always stand by this, and whether I'm right or wrong, is the one thing we need to take away is attitude. And the dressing room, we had a dressing room full of leaders, and irrespective of how good or bad you played, they were on your back. You played for your teammates. There was a certain level of expectation when you played for this club. Certain level of, irrespective of who, we were lucky because of the coaches, but irrespective of who you played, irrespective of who was in your team, you had that respect for each other. Even if you didn't like each other personally, professionally, you had that respect, you had that pride, you had that mentality. These players are not mentality players. You look at in the other squads, the teams that do well have the mentality, and that's what we're missing from this team right now. Is Amorin, yes, his coaching, I think his coaching will be found out. I think that I think that's secondary right now. It's mindset. It's can he or can the club instill a new mindset of winners into this team who work hard for each other. And when the chips are down, like Fernandez, I'm not going to get on his back this year, but when chips are down and he loses his cool, can the rest of the team pick him up? Can the rest of the team, what can they do? Can they bring hunger? Can they bring that desire to win? And this is what I want to see. Fine, I will be looking for patterns of play and looking for all that good stuff. But what I'm looking for more than anything else is mentality in this team. Can Rúben Amorim instill that mentality? Can he instill team togetherness? Judging by the Leeds game, can't just look at one game. But this is what I want to see, the progression of the team. Yeah. Well, I want to see goals and I want to see everything else. But what I want to see is, if we're losing 2-0, what's our response to that? If we're losing 1-0 down, what are we going to do? You look at that Spurs game. I never want to see a repeat of that Spurs game. We had pretty much another half to go and win that Spurs game. I'm telling you now, Fergie used to, even if Fergie, the team was playing crap. You look at the 99 final. We played awful. We were terrible, but we found a way to win. And this is what I want to see more than anything else, is how do we find a way to win? That comes from never giving up. Even in the 92nd minute, I want to see us go for it, and I want to see us try to win a game. And that for me is going to be the mark of Amorim this year, and the mark of these players is their mentality. And I do think Watkins fits into that. I do think Cunha fits into that. I want to see a little bit more than just obviously the play. But have a little look, see, we'll go back for the chats. Yeah. So I'm gonna leave it there. It's gonna be a little bit quick one tonight. Absolute fantastic chat again. Mark Harris, as always, buddy. Just I genuinely think that you're a funny guy, right? But I genuinely think you do bring a lot to these chats, because I do think you offer such different points. I think we agree on a lot of stuff, but I like we are different in some respects, and you do bring a lot of different opinions to the chat that I think really sparks debate. Richard Hawkins, I'd love you to come on some more shows. Brilliant. I just that's the one thing. I think I'm pretty knowledgeable and know quite a lot of stuff. I mean, I go back to the 80s, but you go back further and further, and you've seen pretty much most of our history. You know, winning a European Cup, you know, those years of not doing so well, winning again. You know, probably even beating your expectations, and now kind of going back. So it'd be really good to get you back on at some point. Comment in the chat. He's commented again. I remember watching, and I'm going to give you the last comment on this one before I go, because I think this is an amazing comment. I remember watching Charlton, Law, Best, Bill Fawkes, Nobby Stiles, Alex Stepney, and Rimmer. I cannot top that. I don't want to top that. I want to give you the last word on that. I think that is, I think having you on here tonight shows how amazing this community has got. Having you in here, choosing to spend time with me, choosing to spend time with us, validation for me at how good this channel is now and has become. You know, having people like you in the chat, as well as Mark Harris, you know, as well as Hesty, you know, having that different age range, the different understanding of players. You know, we get people in here who suggest these amazing new players as well. It's such a good mixture of chat in here that I feel really fortunate to have you all in here. Richard Harris, I am envious. I am the fact you got to watch all those players. Imagine nobody can take that away from you. So I amazing. Lovely channel. No, thank you for being here. You know, thank you to everyone in the chat, to Mark Harris, as always, legend of the chat, Richard, Hesty, new legends of the chat. Yeah, I will. I don't think anything else is going to break tonight. If anything does, I will jump back on. I don't think it will. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Love for you to join me tomorrow. There'll be some sort of show. I'll do it tomorrow. I think back to normal because the kids are off tomorrow. So today was a bit of a up and down one. Generally, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the channel is now at just over 4,000 subscribers, and it means the world to me to talk about this amazing club I've been passionate about since I was since I was a small boy. Been able to do this and chat about things I like past and present with you people is one of the highlights of my every single day. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. It's really late now, but enjoy the rest of your evening, afternoon, morning, whatever you are up to. And obviously don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Chuck this out to as many people as you can. Get as many people in here so we can have as many chats and talk about this fantastic club. Get our frustrations out, get our opinions out, and one of us at some point is going to be right, and we're going to call something that's going to be fantastic. So on that note, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you, my friend. And I'll see you again very soon. Take care, and see you on the next one.